Hello, Governor. This is Steve, Newfoundlandville, and we're here to talk about The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 4, Day 1. But first, let me tell you a little story. When I was a teenager, maybe 16, I told my mama I'm not going to church anymore. I was just tired. And I understood that whatever it was that people went to church for, I wasn't getting it. I wasn't being fed. I saw no point. It was more ritual than actually having a point. And my mom, she said, if you are good enough to, go out after the football games, basketball games on Friday, you go out with your friends and play or party or do whatever it is that kids do on Saturday nights, then you good enough to get up and go to church in the morning. But when I had that pushback and I told her why I didn't want to go to church anymore, she relented, but she said, listen, okay, you don't want to go to my church? Cool. But you're going to go somewhere. Now, most people probably would have been like, I don't want to go anywhere. Or they'd be like, you know what, I'll just fake it till I make it and I'll just keep going to mom's church until I get out of school or whatever. But me, I was like, challenge accepted. And for a year plus, for a long while, I experimented. And what I mean by that is I went to other churches, mosques, temples, what have you, and searched for something that spoke to my soul. I needed to find the purpose. I understood that you're supposed to be going and getting religion, spirituality, Jesus, Allah, something, but I wasn't finding it. And when I say I made the grand tour, I did the mosque, and I did Islam, I did Hinduism, I did Buddhism, I did Judaism, I did several different forms of Christianity. Maybe people think that Christianity is all the same. It is not. Not at all. There are thousands of different forms of Christianity. So I tried a couple. My mom's church was Baptist. So I tried some non-denominational. There's some Church of God in Christ, Holiness, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, American Methodist Episcopal, Southern Baptist, Catholic, Lutheran, Protestant, Methodist. A lot. As you can see, a lot. And some of them were very close to what I personally believed and what I thought. But they would have that one thing, a hitch, a rule that I just thought was a bridge too far. Now, what I've come to understand now is that there needs to be a certain amount of discipline. Most people think that they, as long as you live a good life. Listen, I was a good person and at least I didn't kill nobody. But it absolutely does not work like that. Faith without works is dead. Now, I'm not going to go into a long diatribe about my particular spiritual journey, but I did bring that up because in this particular instance, in this particular episode, there's a real huge debate, even though it's unsaid, about belief and fanaticism and how both of those things are on both sides of the equation. Let's talk about it. Hello, Captain. This is Steve, Newfoundlandville, and we're talking about The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 4, Day 1. And what we're really talking about is Day 1 for Dina and Ellie in Seattle. Now, the beginning of the episode features Phaedra, and we're introduced to Isaac, played by the incomparable Jeffrey Wright. The man is such a world-class actor. He is the leader of the WLF, of Abby's Wolves militia. And what we're seeing with Isaac, though, is this is 11 years prior to the events of the story where we're at. Our current events with Ellie and Dina on their way to Seattle, this is 11 years prior, where Isaac was a leader in Phaedra in the federal army against the infected. And he flipped. For whatever reason, he saw that the Phaedra soldiers did not see people as people. They didn't see them as citizens, and he flipped and joined the Liberation Front. And today, in current times, he is the leader of them. Now, Dina and Ellie make it to Seattle, present day. Dina is unsure about this whole revenge tour of Ellie's, but she's with her and she says, you know, she'll fake it till she makes it. On the way there, they saw a group in the woods that were murdered. We now know that they're the Seraphites, a religious cult, if you will. They were all murdered, and from the scene that we saw with them in the last episode, we saw that they were murdered by wolves, which begs that they were killed by the WLF. Ellie and Dina dug into a pharmacy to try to find some supplies, anything, food, medicine, but it's been ransacked pretty good. However, Dina does find something and tells Ellie she's gotta go pee. They look around, they find a tank. Dina says it's the first time she ever saw a tank up close. They find a tank, but they find that in this particular section of town they're in, no one's there. So they duck into a music shop. It's a Valiant record store. And they take Shimmer, their horse, inside to get him off the street. They spend a little time in there. For some reason, Ellie finds a guitar in pristine condition, and she takes it out and plays an acoustic version of Aha's Take On Me, kind of a little tribute to Joel, who taught her to play that song in particular. It seems a wonderful homage to Joel and kind of a way for her to say goodbye in her own way. You could see a lot of Ellie's regret. You could see a lot of Ellie's bitterness being placed. You could see a lot of Ellie's bitterness being replaced by regret. We go back to Isaac. He is telling a story about cooking and how he always wanted one of the best sets of cookware available and how he was going to get it, but the war changed everything and now he has the cookware he wants. But we find out that he's telling the story to a naked man who he is torturing. That man happens to be one of the scars, and they have a back and forth. Not really an argument, because Isaac does a pretty good job of saying what he wants to say without raising his voice until the end of their back and forth, and he gets perturbed and he's tired. He is tired because he realizes the man is right. The man says, we're not going to lose. And Isaac's like, how do you figure that? We have guns, we have tanks, we have a huge army. Y'all have rocks and bows and arrows. And he said, because every day people are leaving you. They see what you have become. You've become worse than the people that you claim to hate. And every day people are leaving you and joining us. And at no point ever does anybody leave us and join you. And Isaac knew he was right. Doesn't mean that the Seraphites will win, but he knew that he was right. So he kills him. And he just wanted to know where was the next attack coming, because the Seraphites had been picking them off slowly. We see Ellie and Dina break into a spot where they're looking for Abby. They break into a spot to get closer, and they happen upon a ritualistic killing. They see 5 or 6 wolves strung up, disemboweled. I don't think they were skinned, but the intestines are hanging out and they're all hung from the rafters. One of the people that was killed by the Seraphites happened to radio in for backup. So the backup comes and they are combing the place. Dina and Ellie barely make it out. The wolves are hot on their tail. And the next thing that happens is they shimmy. They go through a small opening into like the underground, maybe subway station. The wolves cut them off the other way and they come from the way that Ellie and Dina are heading. But in their exuberance to get Ellie and Dina, they throw flares all over the place and make their presence known. And before you know it, a huge horde of infected show up and take out all the soldiers. And Dina and Ellie barely get away. Dina and Ellie are finally able to get away. They have a intense, intimate moments in which, because in getting away, Ellie allows herself to be bitten so that the infected wouldn't bite Dina. But Dina knows, listen, if you get infected, I gotta take you out before you become infected. So Ellie has to share her secret with her, and she pleads with Dina just to let her sleep, tie her up, let her sleep, keep the gun on her, and if she wakes up normal, you'll see that she's immune. And that's what happens. And then when they kind of come to terms with that, Dina also tells her she's pregnant. And apparently she's pregnant with Jesse's baby. And when she said she had to pee back at the abandoned house or the pharmacy, she found several pregnancy tests just to make sure, and she's pregnant. At the end of the episode, they go on the roof because there's a full-out war going on somewhere else in town at Capitol Hill. And they shout out on the radio that, Abby something. And Ellie now knows that's where Abby is. But it's in the middle of a war zone, and she looks to Dina and tells her she doesn't have to go. And this is the first time that she actually kind of becomes Joel. She sees what Joel was doing and trying to safeguard her, keep her safe. And the same thing she wants to do to Dina. And Dina, very much like Ellie, is like, I'm not having it. We'll go together. You know that I love my quotes. And today I only have one. And it's from Bertrand Russell. And he says, the whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. And this particular media therapy deep dive and die for the cause. So we're clear, there's a difference between belief and fanaticism. Belief involves holding something to be true, while fanaticism is an intense, often uncritical enthusiasm or obsession, sometimes leading to harmful actions. A fanatic is characterized as inflexibility and a refusal to consider other viewpoints, while a believer may be open to change and willing to engage in a reasoned discussion. Sometimes those things can be interchangeable, and it makes it hard to distinguish between which is which, because often a fanatic will consider himself a believer, a true believer, and that's something different altogether. We have often had this problem for as long as religion has been around. And it's not just religion, because many people idolize certain things and make that their religion. In America, we have the religion of celebrity. We praise and worship famous people, even to the point of fanaticism and where it's completely irrational. In this particular episode, we see Isaac try to reason with a Seraphite for the safety of the community. But in his reasoning with the Seraphite, he's doing it through torture, which that would make a fanatic even that more entrenched. That would make them that much more dug in. And the Scar, as they're called, says to him, "We will not lose, because every single day more of your people are quitting what you're doing and joining us. And none of our people are quitting and joining you." And that's a bar. But where does the line get drawn? We've watched several episodes here lately. I have a media therapy deep dive of episode 4 of Doctor Who called Lucky Day that delves into this very same topic, where people use lies, things that they know to not be the truth, falsehoods, and twist them for their own purposes. They spread propaganda. And it's very easy to look at these particular shows that we watch and see that has nothing to do with me. That's some force made up in the future when monsters take over. But we have such a hard time seeing the parallels in what is going on in our country right now today. We are currently being led by fanatics. And the thing is, there are fanatics about the United States government. And there are people that will die and kill for the government because they believe at some point, allegedly, they believe in the Constitution and the words that were written by Thomas Jefferson and the other members who created the Constitution. But we have a lot of people who believe in the power that their offices give them, not in the words that were meant behind that, not in the intentions of the forefathers. And even if you really want to get technical about the intentions of the forefathers, how righteous, how good of people can they have been when they were all slaveholders? You can't do people like that and say that everything I do is on the up and righteous. You couldn't base an entire religion around a figure known as Jesus and then say, oh, but he was a criminal. He was, running a brothel on the side. He did do this, but he had a good heart. And so you should follow everything he said. No one would follow that. Now, why? Because it's very possible that he could have had a good heart. I don't know if there's such thing as, as a kind-hearted pimp. I don't know. He was the nicest drug dealer we knew. Okay, sure. Now, the illusion of being perfect is ridiculous. I'm not saying for Jesus, I wasn't there. I don't know. The good book says that he was. Okay. But we also know that he was human. And if there was ever any human to be perfect, it would have been him. Because the rest of us are so far from that, it's not even close. We hate each other based on our differences. And it's sad that you watch a show like The Last of Us. The Last of Us. Humanity is on the verge of annihilation from a monster of our own making almost. And if you go back and watch the beginning parts of episode 1, season 1, and see how this spread, greed, capitalism, hubris, corporate entities. So a fungus, a virus spread through the plants, through the food, through the fungus, through mushrooms, infected people, and it's taking over people, and people are killing other people, eating people. and we still don't have the good sense to band together. No, we get further divided. I believe this, you believe that. I believe in power. So even in our worst nightmare, the worst scenario you can think of, and just think about all the media that you watched, everything comes down to power. Those who can fight, those who are willing to kill indiscriminately, those who are willing to seize power. Because power is not given, power is taken. And at that point, you'll see that money doesn't really matter anymore. You might have some money to pay people, but at a certain point, money, if you don't have the power, if you don't have the brute strength, the wherewithal, the knowledge, the incessant appetite towards violence to keep your position, your money won't last you long. Then you go on the other side of the wolves. You go on the other side. So what Tommy and them have set up in Jackson, belief. They're trying to make civilization as normal as it was before the infection. And we see Ellie's out here because she said it didn't work. She wanted justice. She wanted revenge for the death of Joel. And they said, no, it's not a good idea. You want revenge for this one person. You're going to take all of these people of ours and get them killed, seeking revenge, seeking justice. It's not a good idea. And she said, the hell with y'all, I'm going to do it anyway. Now, Tommy had a job to do to keep as many people safe as he could. So I get it. It's pragmatic. It makes sense. It's a rational decision. Ellie's not rational. Dina puts a battery in her back sometimes and is not rational right along with her. Now, she gives her the common sense stuff, but she enables a lot of the bullshit that Ellie does. What we see in this, especially as we saw the change in Isaac from the beginning of the episode to the end, to where he was torturing the naked man, that your heart can have good intentions, and you could have, he switched sides. Even in switching sides, though, he killed his whole squad, except for one. Where is the line drawn? Because sometimes it looks like good men do bad things for good purposes. Where bad men can also do good things. Good men can do bad things. Where is the line? Who gets to determine who's a believer and who's a fanatic? Who's a true believer? Are we moving towards a time with zero moral integrity? Watching stuff like this and drawing the parallels between real life and where we are as a society is scary, because especially if you don't study history, then you're doomed to repeat it. You know, a fanatic is one who can't change his mind and won't change the subject. But the sad thing is that those who believe and are even driven to the point of fanaticism, you know, people are never so completely and enthusiastically evil as when they act out of religious conviction. And that's a quote from Vladimir Prop, I think. I said to Centel before, if you watch The Walking Dead and you followed Negan's group from the beginning, and then watch what Rick Grimes and his group did, then Negan's group would be the protagonists. They would be the heroes of our story, and we would look at Rick and his group as the bad guys. And it's very easy to lose perspective on who's the good guy and who's the bad guy based on who you're following. And unfortunately, we need a more clearly delineated roles in this world. This is Rakai Steed, new from the Ville. Make sure to like, comment, share this video as much as possible. Leave me some comments. Leave me, what do you think about what I said about beliefs and fanatics? You ever known any fanatics? I've known a few. Usually around sports teams. I know people are completely delulu. They are delusional when it comes to their sports. And some artists, entertainers, just delusional fanatics. You ever seen them videos where people like, back in the day, Michael Jackson would come, like show up and Asian people just pass out? Fanatics. And if for some reason you haven't subscribed, stop playing. Hit the button. Subscribe, and maybe something I say will resonate with you. At any rate, everything I say, everything I do, I try to use this. But it's even more important to use this.